Cue music. Places, everybody, places. We're starting in 3, 2.
It's time for Life Interrupted Radio, a show dedicated to practical skills for your mind, body, and soul. We're hoping we'll go in one ear and stay there. Here's the host of the show, Sharon Sayler.
Welcome to this special series we're featuring here on Life Interrupted Radio, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. The NIH estimates nearly 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder. To put that in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. You'll be as surprised as I was to find out what autoimmune entails. I brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted. So let's get started.
Well, thank you, Wayne, for that great introduction. Oh, my goodness, it's my weekend, and I'm Sharon Sayler, your host for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I hope it's your weekend, too. I know some people work through the weekends, and our show goes live every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so sometimes people are like, but Sharon, what are you talking about? It's not my weekend. But I hope at least you have something fun planned coming up soon, at least in the next 24 for 48 hours, because you know what? One of the things I have found is if we don't make time for fun, that doesn't help our health either. I'm still enjoying that wonderful tea the listener from London sent me, the mango, the green tea mango. Yeah. I actually went online and ordered some more. It is so good. It's just so fantastic. And since it's all natural, it's organic, all that good stuff. So I thought, yep, I can make myself a nice cup of tea, and that's what I'm drinking tonight as I share with you. And tonight we're doing a little something different. I've got 2 amazing recordings from 2 amazing women who have tackled their own health conditions in their own way. Special guest who pinged me on Facebook through the Life Interrupted Radio Facebook page, which is fabulous. Always do that if you're interested in knowing who's coming up on the show, or if you want to be on the show, just go over to Facebook at Life Interrupted Radio and search out the page. And feel free to ping me there. And she came to me with a very interesting background, shall I say. And I loved it because it's something we hadn't talked about before. And quick bio about her. Her name is Tammy Durden, and she's the president and founder of Tammy's Office Solutions. She was diagnosed over 15 years ago with multiple sclerosis, and that, among so many of the other autoimmunes, all of a sudden your ability to work just becomes rather chaotic, and sometimes people think they can never work again, even as they begin to become thrivers again and on the road to healing. Finding work is really tough. And she even lost her ability to walk several times, and she's learned to walk again and drive again. And she's just amazing. She, as I call thriver, she calls it her new normal. I love that too. But whatever you call it, I call them thrivers out there. And Tammy is definitely a thriver. Sometimes I hear people, especially in the medical profession, call them survivors. I'm like, that is such a downer word. No. I am not I'm not going to accept that term. I am a thriver. And that's what Tammy is too. She's also been diagnosed with lupus and autoimmune thyroid as well. What's so fascinating beyond this and her ability to thrive with all of these things going on is that she started her own, it's called Tammy's Office Solutions, but what she is a virtual assistant. And you may know what those are. Those are people, I've got a couple of them, in fact. If you've ever pinged me, you might not hear from me right away because I travel so much, but one of my virtual assistants would get back to you. And it's amazing. But anyway, what she founded was her own business. She started her own business doing it just for herself. And as all of a sudden she started getting too much work and realized she was creating her own business. What she's done is absolutely amazing, and we'll get more into this, is she hires people like herself or other disabled, we'll say, I kind of put that in air quotes for you there, but other professionals who really find it difficult to work in a traditional setting given health issues or other issues related to being able to get out and about and around. So she's all about empowering and employing disabled professionals. So welcome, Tammy. I love your story. I want to talk to you more about it and yourself, but welcome to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio.
Thank you, Sharon. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you letting me be on with you. I'm excited.
Oh, it is. It's such a wonderful story you have. First off, let's just, quickly go over, being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis is hard enough, but then all of a sudden finding lupus and thyroid, wow.
Yes.
Triple
it was an
triple
interesting
whammy.
Yes, indeed. Well, probably better than anybody too, having done the show and everything, that often when you are diagnosed with one autoimmune, you have a propensity to also, lucky us, get more autoimmune,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Right. It does sometimes feel like I've heard it explained, and I've even used it on occasion, chasing a bubble. I was just feeling good from this. Now, what is
Right.
that? Just tell us a little quickly, it's amazing to me because sometimes I have found a wide variety of people with multiple sclerosis to where it becomes completely debilitating. But you got a couple of secrets of things that you did that were able to get you back to, I know you lost the ability to walk for a while, but you were able to learn to walk again and drive again and obviously work again. So do you have a couple of tips that you would love to share that you went, I think that was a major turning point for me?
Well, first of all, I have a wonderful support team in my family. So, they were always there to encourage me, help me in the down times. You know how it is sometimes when you're in flares and stuff. I mean, it's so scary, especially I had younger children at the time, and it's scary to them. But I had such a great support team, and I would say don't give up. Don't give up, because that's the biggest thing. Just when you feel like you're at your lowest and it's hard to get that energy to even keep going sometimes, that's when you need it the most. And just don't give up. Rely on the help that you have and do the exercises that PT gives you, as hard as they are sometimes. And
For sure.
And keep going. And keep going, because and one of the other things that I did recently, because of medications and our lack of ability to move as well as we did, I had gained a lot of weight. I was almost twice the size I was when this journey began. So in the last year, I actually got a health coach and have lost 50 pounds, 55
Bravo.
so far.
Bravo.
So that's another thing that's really helped me anyway.
Wow. Well, bravo. And, I am a big fan of Don't Give Up. I don't know if you ever heard this, but people will come up to me and they say, Sharon, you're so brave. And I look at him like deer in the headlights. I don't understand that. It's like, what is the other alternative? Roll over and not enjoy this precious life I've been given? I don't understand that. But so I love it that you say don't give up, keep going. I find though that when you say rely on help, you're so lucky that you have great help. I find that one of the things that's common on the comments I get sometimes is it's hard to ask for help. Did you ever find that?
Absolutely. I am so independent. I have learned a lot about control and giving that up. But yes, it was absolutely hard for me to do that, even of my own family, because I was the one doing everything before this, to have to rely on them for almost everything, especially in the beginning. That was so difficult. And my husband took over the cooking. I would lay on the couch and tell him how to cook. And bless his heart, he's continued it to this day. So I'm very grateful for that. But yes, I think it is so hard, especially even a family, to ask. But then we had a whole congregation of people who wanted to help. And that was hard, to let them inside when you're hurting so much and your world is upside down, to let people come in and take care of you or help you in different ways. But I will say that you can foster such good relationships and being vulnerable and opening that door and allowing them to kind of minister to you, because that's a blessing for them as well. And just receive it. And that's hard sometimes, but just remember, you're going to be back on, up and going again, hopefully after the flare. And it may not be the same. It'll be a new normal, as we call it. But you'll get up again. So just be encouraged and allow others to help.
I love this idea of new normal, because when I think back, I'm going to say this on a timeline type of thing, quote unquote, to my old life, every day was not normal. I mean, I was living as an author and a speaker traveling around the world, and one day I'm in Paris and the next day I'm in Alabama or something. Who knew? And so I always love this idea of people say, well, you know, the new normal. I'm like, well, I don't know. Every day was different for me, so it's kind of hard to say what I lost. But I find the one thing that I always say, and people look at me strange, is like they say, well, don't you want your old life back? And I can point to many things that I've learned on this thriving journey that tell me, no, not really. I actually think I'm a better person now than I was then. I'm certainly less of a perfectionist, and I certainly have slowed down and enjoy the present moment. What are a couple things that you've learned to do?
I would definitely agree with you in that I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I also wouldn't take it back if I could, because like you, I have learned a lot, and not just myself, but my family. We're different because of it. My children learned generosity and empathy because of being in a home with somebody who's growing disabled. And it was just amazing to see them reach out to others who are in need, or help people through a doorway, or, you know, that's not natural necessarily for a 12-year-old boy, but did become natural for us. And I also learned to give up a lot of control, which for me was a big issue back then. It's hard to even say just a couple of things because I've learned so many things. And I think we naturally grow through it. I think you can grow through it or you can become bitter through it, but we have a choice. And I think for me, that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to allow this to be my bitter point. It was going to be something that I moved forward in. And that's why I like to say I live joyfully with MS, because it's a choice. And every day it's a choice. And some days are harder than others to say that, you know, but, and it's not always happiness, but I do live joyfully. So I think I've had to learn those things.
Oh, absolutely. And I always think I took having a choice and living joyfully for granted until I got my diagnosis of dermatomyositis, because I never really paid that much attention to it. Now I pay closer attention to a lot of those things that I just took for granted before. It's fascinating. But I know you just mentioned about this idea of when we first get a diagnosis, we feel like we're growing disabled and all of that. Tell your wonderful story of how you started Tammy's Office Solutions, and then how it became more than just a one-person place.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Sharon. 2008, we moved to Virginia, and we were my husband's a pastor, so we had parsonages mostly, and we were blessed enough here to be able to purchase a home when we moved here. But of course, that limited income, we could certainly use a second income, even if just a small one. And so I began to try to look for something that I could do from home, because obviously it's a lot easier to expend energy at home at a desk versus getting ready, going out to a job. And I wouldn't have been able to work maybe a couple of hours outside of the home. And so I was looking, and I found a gentleman who was an insurance agent, needed help with administrative and making appointments. And I began to do that. And before I knew it, he said his colleagues were asking him where was he getting all this help, and then began to ask for my name and number. And so all of a sudden, I am a business. I was just thinking I was administrative help, and suddenly now I'm a business. And so when I finally came to that realization, one of the things I determined to do was, when I had enough clients that I could share the work, I wanted it to be shared with other disabled professionals as much as possible. Now, of course, I don't discriminate against able-bodied and non-disabled, but for the most part, I try to hire and bring on disabled professionals that also need to work from home. And so we've grown from lead generation and administrative to now we do bookkeeping, digital marketing, and all the administrative plus writing services. And it's just amazing. I just love what I do. I love seeing disabled professionals grow in their confidence. It's just an amazing thing. It's like a transformation.
I'm lucky enough that I've always been self-employed, and so when I got my diagnosis, it was obviously troubling. It's like, okay, it's just me. How am I going to keep going and all of that? But I was also lucky that I didn't have to worry about getting fired or not being able to show up for work or having to explain to somebody why I was only working at 50% or less or something along those lines. So I love the idea of being able to offer this to some people who maybe hadn't worked for themselves in this capacity. I just find that so wonderful. So we need to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Do you want to be a better leader? Have better relationships? Become more self-aware? Be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Sayler, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSayler.com/radio gift.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
I am Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler, your host from SharonSayler.com. And it's my honor to have today Tammy Durden. She's the president and founder of Tammy's Office Solutions. It's a bit different. Oftentimes we're talking about medical solutions, things like that, diet, maybe some exercise, whatever. And Tammy pinged me on Facebook and asked to be on the show and offered a great way of looking at a different angle of autoimmune, and that is Tammy's Office Solutions. One of the things they do is that they openly and encourage disabled professionals who need to work from home to come and see if they are able to work for Tammy's Office Solutions or encourage them to work for them. And what Tammy does is a lot of what I call virtual assistant work. Is that about where you put that into that category, Tammy?
Yes, it is a really growing category. So now I kind of say virtual business services because there's so many varieties now of things that we do. But yes, overall it is categorized as virtual assistant.
Wow, great. Now, as with all the experience you've had in having others work with you as well as yourself, what are some of the things, two things I want to talk about is living joyfully, and then also, what are some of the things that you would tell someone who has an autoimmune condition searching for something that they can do given whatever their limitations are, because as we know, there's so many kinds of autoimmune conditions. What are some of the things that you look for or you encourage them to be able to do?
First thing that I would say is take stock of your skills and what you've done in the past, what you want to do. Maybe make a list of, I know I can do these things, and I would also maybe like to do these things. And then the things that you can do already, I would say go ahead and write up a summary, or at least, not necessarily a resume, but at least a summary of your skills, so that you can present that to somebody if you're going to approach them. Then the other thing I would say that's really important is continuing education, and we have so much of that online now. I'm always taking courses so that I can offer our clients more abilities to work with us. I even say we're an office in a box with an out-of-a-box approach, because just about anything you might need in an office work we can do. So I would say get those skills, continue your education on things that you might want to do. And I will tell you, you might be surprised, because one of the things that I ended up taking on was some graphic art work and things like that. I'm not a graphic artist. I cannot draw a stick figure. But what I found was I enjoyed that creativity so much in doing some of the logos and just putting art out, pictures with quotes and, different things like that for social media so much that I really was surprised that was where I thrived a lot of the time. And so you might be surprised. The other thing I would say is, if you can, in the States, work with your Department of Rehab, because I know I work closely with them. What they will do even is train you completely. They will also supply a computer or any other thing that you might need to do a job like this. And it's wonderful. So I would say team up with them and tell them what your hope is and what you want to do. They will help you with the education part, as well as providing any type of equipment that you may need also.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, those were great tips. First, take stock of all the skills you have. Take stock of all the things you like to do. 'Cause isn't that funny how we sometimes have hobbies, but we don't ever put that as a skill? I think that's so funny.
It is. Absolutely.
And the Department of Rehab, I didn't realize that. Now, is that typically a state office or a county office, city office? How would one begin to look for their Department of Rehab? Ask their doctor, maybe? Ask their rheumatologist or something like that?
Well, and actually, yes, they're in every state, but they're also they have county offices. So you could look under, even in the phone book, or just Google it online, your state and then Department of Rehab. So like Virginia Department of Rehab, because that's where I am. And start there. And then underneath that, it might have some counties that's closest to you to call and find out how you might get involved with them in order to get training and get the things that you need.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't know that. What a fun thing, because when autoimmune strikes a family, it can really hit hard. It just oftentimes can take out at least one of the breadwinners. And yeah, wow, that is fantastic to know. I just love that you're so courageous. I'll use that word. I was going to say adventuresome. That probably works too, but I was going to say that. But I just love that you're so courageous about taking a chance and all of that. I love that. We have just a few minutes left, and I want to make sure that they know how to find you, but also give me a few more tips. I can just tell from our times talking together, you do really, your motto is live joyfully. You've mentioned that a couple of times on the show, but sometimes that's hard. Can you give us a few more tips about ways that you find joy, or some of the people that you've either hired or work with that find joy regardless of what's going on in their life?
Definitely. Well, for one thing, my faith is huge. That is the thing that has carried me through always, beginning my day with him and having that throughout, and feeling his presence the most when I'm down, But also, when you asked about somebody else that I work with, I have a woman, and she's like my right-hand person, and she's legally blind. She uses the JAWS, it's JAWS, it's an acronym, gene that actually reads in her ear and tells her what the computer says and things like that. And she's just amazing to me. And she encourages me often when I'm down. So she is just amazing. And she has a multi-generational household, as she likes to call it. She's just incredible. She watches her grandchildren. She works with me. And she's trying to take on more work. I think she's courageous.
That's true. I always find somebody more courageous than I am as I'm going through my thriving here. I always find somebody definitely much more courageous than I am.
Yes, indeed. We don't often think of ourselves that way, do we? We just think of ourselves of wanting to continue on and keep moving and living our life. And to us, that's our life. It's not necessarily that we're taking a giant step of courage.
Exactly, for sure. That is so true. And I think one of the wonderful things that you offer people is hope. And I applaud you for that, because oftentimes, as even if it is our new normal, maybe we've come to terms with it, or we're past the flare or whatever, and it's sometimes difficult to have hope. And I so appreciate that about your outlook, is offering hope to many people. And that's so profound. I think that's often overlooked, especially in I'll say in the Western medical profession. More than once I've fired a doctor who...
I can relate. Yeah. That's why I chuckle. Because I can really relate to that.
Who was telling me what I would never, ever be able to do again, not what I could do. And... I'm like, no, that's not going to work for me. I got to have you on my side here. We got to be on the same team here.
That's right. I know I was told very early on that I better do and travel and whatever else now, because I would become very disabled at a very young age. Well, I'm 51. I'm still walking. I use a forearm crutch, but I'm still walking most of the time. So I'm very grateful for that. I will say I spent years doing hippotherapy, which was wonderful as well. And that's on horseback, but that is marvelous. That is another type of therapy that is amazing.
Oh, my goodness. No, we haven't talked about that. You're just a bundle of information, Tammy, but we're just about out of time. I want to make sure that you have great service to share with everybody. So how can they learn more about you and Tammy's Office Solutions?
Yes, my website is tammysoffices.com, and that's TAMMYSOFFICES.com, and you can find me on there. And if you'd like to contact us, there's a contact form on there, and just please fill that out. And I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're needing any VA work as well, just Tammy's Offices. So it's TAMMYSOFFICES, so plurals there, tammysoffices.com. Thank you so much for reaching out to me on Facebook. It's been delightful, and I love just finding new ways to present the story of that we can all be thrivers regardless of our diagnosis. It's just been my honor to have you on, and your cheerful, don't give up, and live joyfully spirit is just wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Sharon, and I appreciate your show very much.
Like Tammy, be sure and like it on iTunes as well, because that's how we keep the community growing strong and all of us thriving, and my ability to continue to bring you great information from a wide variety of sources and ways to be living joyfully and not giving up regardless of your diagnosis, to become a thriver. We'll be back right after this quick commercial break.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
What are all the things you witness online in a day? Cats playing piano, selfies on your feed, your friend's picture being turned into a nasty meme that's been shared 50 times, 51, 52. When someone's being bullied online, it's hard to know what to do. Now you can speak up with the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone. And we're going to hear from Sheena Grobb, who is a singer-songwriter, because I wanted to share with you this idea of we can all know what we need to do. We can all tackle these issues the way we want to tackle them, and these two women surely have. So let me read Sheena's bio here. She is a self-professed songbird from the age of 2, a songwriter from the age of 10. She has 3 albums under her belt, a nomination for the Western Canadian Music Awards, and over 700 tour dates across Canada, the US, UK. She's an acclaimed singer-songwriter, teacher, and health coach. I happened to watch her TEDx talks from June of 2015, which was absolutely amazing. She was so transparent and so real and, I'll say, raw, as she spoke about her health and how our lives are so fragile, and how she learned to battle her diagnosis of multiple sclerosis from the age of only 16. Sheena is now sharing explicit details on her health journey and teaching others a new system for alleviating subtle stress in the body that she herself has found life-changing. She credits the work of Dr. Doug Tentrian. I'm going to have to ask her if that's how we say that. Takaran. Thank you, Sheena. And his bioemotive framework. Welcome, Sheena. Thanks for being on the Autoimmune Hour.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, what a bio. I have to tell you, I've listened to some of your songs on iTunes. They're just gorgeous. And as I said in the introduction, I listened to your TED Talk about life being so fragile, and in so many things you shared, I could absolutely relate. So just tell the audience a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, looking back, I think there may have been some earlier signs even before 16, but when I was 16, I was very active in track and other sports, and music was my heart and my passion. I also challenged myself physically, and when I noticed that I was running on a warm day, I was running the track and my ankle kept rolling over on itself. My toes were kind of experiencing some numbness, and I thought that was quite strange. I wondered if maybe I'd pinched a nerve in my back, and I didn't really, react significantly at the time. I was pretty young, and I just thought, oh, that was kind of strange. And then I noticed when I got in the shower after practice one day, I reached in and felt cold water with one hand and hot water with the other hand, and I'm like, wow, I don't think that's supposed to happen.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, fortunately for me, I mean, in some ways it was definitely a shock to the system to get the news so early, but I saw a doctor, and my small town family doctor was quite diligent in getting some answers for me, and I was diagnosed very fast. By Christmas that year, we got the news on Christmas Eve. I remember it very clearly. Wow. Yeah, I was given the diagnosis. So from there, it changed the game for sure.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine getting the diagnosis on Christmas Eve. It's bad enough getting the diagnosis at any time. I remember in your TED Talk, I was nodding my head when you said something like, I heard the diagnosis and that's all I heard. So what happened after you got the diagnosis?
Well, immediately after, and I alluded to this in the talk a little bit, my attitude, my positive thinking, and my really healthy upbringing with my family, that kicked in really fast. I adopted a healthy attitude around it. I tried my best to go forward without putting too much negative energy towards the idea that this could go a number of different ways, and think positive, Sheena. And that really did help me for a time. Those are healthy tools to be using, and certainly for a lot of people, we understand that having a positive attitude can really affect how we experience our symptoms or the experience itself. But I definitely recognized later, when I came to understand a few things about emotional processing, that I didn't really have the tools or the space or the knowledge to understand how to truly feel what that impact had on me. I had literally gone into a state of, I would imagine it was a state of shock, some kind of just hold it together, clench up my body, be strong for my family. don't complain, don't worry. That's not going to help anything, you know? And so those beliefs and those were instilled fairly deeply into me, and I held on to that. And, you know, it worked for a long time. I went on the next number of years. I didn't really experience, my symptoms went away, accepted my doctor's recommendations, and I focused on my studies. A number of years later, in 2000 and I want to say 4 or 5, I woke up one morning and I had lost partial vision in one of my eyes. It was another reminder that this was still a part of my life that I hadn't fully accepted or acknowledged. My identity was so wrapped up in how positive an attitude I had and how well I could do in life no matter what. So again, I didn't sit down and I didn't feel sorry for myself. I didn't let it get me down, even though I was clearly struggling. But again, my conditioning was to just kind of power through and be as positive as I could. That was great. I'm not trying to discredit the power of positive thinking. It's so important.
Oh, I know, but I can see the downside to it. I tried to do that too right after my diagnosis. I don't think I held out as long as you did. At this point where you had your identity wrapped up in this positive attitude, I can see so many women doing that just to keep their family strong, or they don't want to, harm their children's development or anything like that. My goodness. At what point did that all shift and you say, maybe there's a better way?
Well, the next relapse I had was the most challenging one for me. I had a lot on my plate at the time. I was burning the candle at all kinds of different ends, if that's possible.
I think most women are nodding their head on that one.
Absolutely. I was Wonder Woman, we'll just say. I could do it all, and I did it with a smile. And one morning I just woke up and my body had said no. Everything stopped. My body forced me to stop. I had to approach my teaching committee and take a few weeks off for health reasons. I had to stop everything I was doing, and literally I just sat at home and I had nowhere to go but inside myself. It was a powerful moment going to my neurologist that week and saying, okay, give me the next medication, give me the next line of defense, like I'm ready for it. I've got, I'm equipped with everything that I'm ready to do. Tell me what to do next. And looking at her in the face and seeing in her eyes that she didn't really have anything else to give me. And that moment was a changing moment for me. I can say that I never felt quite as alone as I did in that moment, but I also felt like, okay, this can't be the end of the road. This can't be the furthest point of knowledge that we have. And lucky for me, I had a friend in my life who had been through a lot in her own journey, who had luckily met this doctor that she introduced me to. And she said, Sheena, don't worry about the money, just go see what he has to say. And I was thinking in my mind, what does processing my emotions have to do with anything? Like I didn't really get it at the time, that there would be almost like a mind, body, spirit connection that I hadn't yet really explored. And I didn't even really know how open to that I was. But something inside me went, Sheena, like there's something more to this. And so I went.
This is just so fascinating to me. It's reminding me, if you've listened in to Dr. David Clark and to Sarah Payton's work, and we've just had several other people recently talk about this mind, body, emotion, spirit connection, and how important that is to our thriving regardless of our diagnosis. So when we come back from this quick commercial break, Sheena's going to share with us all about what she learned when she learned about biomotive framework and how critical it was to her understanding what was going on with her and how it shifted everything for her. And this is so exciting when you hear this, guys. So just a couple of minutes. Thanks a lot.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Sayler, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSayler.com/radio gift.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. What I love about what I do here on the Autoimmune Hour is I get to talk to amazing people all the time. People like Sheena Grobb, who's been through it. As she said earlier, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 16. And now she's sharing with us how she reached this turning point. So let's dive back in, Sheena, and find out, okay, what happened when you started to get this connection? There's more than just the physical body happening here.
Absolutely. Well, I can remember the first day that I met Dr. Durden. I walked into his office, and I remember feeling how strange it felt that I wasn't busy doing all these other things, that I was constantly looking after other needs or looking after expectations that were placed on me. I looked at him and I sat down and he asked me why I was there. Why did I think I was there?
I guess I understand the question, but I think my brain would probably go, look at the chart.
I just unfolded with tears. And the very first thing that came to my mind is that I've never taken time like this for myself before. I have never given myself an hour in the company of someone who's just listening to me and supporting me in this moment where I get to express like how scary it's been or how hard or how difficult. And that alone was a changing moment, just to feel my body's response to that kind of self-care coming from myself. I knew something special was about to happen for me. And within 3 sessions of working with my emotions a little bit and learning about how to listen to what I was feeling, because at the beginning, like I almost bypassed my own emotions. Ask me what feeling is active in your body right now, like in your stomach. If you had a feeling associated with circumstances that you're going through right now, what would it be? So often my response would be, well, I feel fine. Like, things happen to all of us in life, and that would be my first response. But slowly, as I started to just relax a little bit into myself, and the safer I felt in the context of being able to explore what I was sitting with, I was slowly able to learn and develop a language around truly feeling the root of what I was actually going through. And for me, I've also discovered through some of this work with Dr. Durden and others that the language of emotions is something that many of us haven't been taught, given to us in school, the way that, you're instructed how to ride a bike or you're instructed how to play baseball or basketball, you're given coaching in those areas because we have an understanding of the importance of those areas of our brain. But up until this point, there's been so little understanding on the importance of being able to develop a language around what we experience with our emotions.
I know what you mean. I can think of so many times just in my own world, and these different voices go through my head where it's like, or girls don't cry, buck up, here, have a cookie, you'll feel better. But nothing around giving a voice to, I feel sad right now. Wow, this sounds like amazing work. Let's dive in some more.
I was fascinated by just learning about my own deficits in this area and realizing that I had two beautiful, wonderful, loving, supportive parents. My mom was a teacher and a counselor herself. So if I, as a child, was not getting these tools given to me, who is? It was kind of what I'm thinking, right? And so I started to understand the importance of getting to the root of what I was feeling, and also learning that I was this time 22, 23 years old. I had already experienced so many years of, not every negative experience in my emotional body had to be extremely traumatic, but go through school and you feel rejected because a certain group of people isn't inviting you to a party or something, and the impression that might leave with you at a young age ends up being an impression taken about who you are.
Absolutely. And then you add on to that a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. Absolutely. I can think of the usual high school angst.
Yeah.
But then you add on.
Absolutely. And I don't know if Sharon, if you've had an experience that you can relate to on this level, but I remember having an experience in grade 7 that was so significant to me. It was such a traumatic moment in my life, something I would never forget about my school experience.
Oh, absolutely. You took, just asking me that question, I went right back to 5th grade. So.
Right? So I think for so many of us, we would be asked that question. Can you remember one significant moment from your schooling experience, your early childhood, that just had such an effect on you in some way? And if you think about like how that was maybe handled within yourself, or whether or not it even was, maybe it was buried, maybe it was a secret, maybe it was something that you just put your head down and surged through and didn't really give it its proper acknowledgement or process. And imagine the impact that can have on someone years later. That early experience in about grade 7 for me was so traumatic and so deeply felt in my body. I can remember it happening, and I almost felt like this hot wave of shame and sadness roll through my body. And it was a physical experience, and one that just I felt for days and months after, but that slowly I had just begun to live a little differently around that memory. And my body kind of protected me from having to re-experience it over and over again. And eventually I just became a different version of myself in the world, not really something that everyone else around me could pick up on. But I know that it had happened, and I know that I was just doing my best to move forward in life. And in doing some of this work with Dr. Durden, I realized that I had taken in some impressions about myself after that event that had not only shaped kind of almost like a contact lens that I was looking at myself through, but it also became this impression around how I was interacting with others. I mean, without going into great detail about my own personal experience, I mentioned that in this context with those listening really feel. And I don't necessarily think that this was the root and the cause of my multiple sclerosis. I know I'm a science brain, so I understand that there's many factors that play into an outcome that's significant. But I certainly know that if my body, if there is such a thing as stress affecting the body and manifesting different symptoms in our body, some of those early memories I can think back on absolutely could have played a part in what ended up taking form later in life for me.
We've had Dr. David Clark on, and his book, So They Say There's Nothing Wrong. I think that's the title of it. Something like that, folks. Email me if you want me to give it to you the right title. And he talks about his life work, working with 7,000 patients on what he calls adverse childhood experience, and how it can manifest itself, how it does manifest itself in a wide variety of physical symptoms. Now, he doesn't say it causes autoimmune, but it can cause inflammation, it can cause breakdowns of the cells, it can cause other types of things that can exacerbate or help along the autoimmune condition. It didn't have to be just childhood trauma. If you are experiencing any sort of trauma now, he talked about post-traumatic stress disorder as an adult. he's seen can cause physical manifestations.
Sharon, it's become part of my life's work to share about it because it has been so impactful. I've always been a scientist. I've always been an empath. As a singer-songwriter, I started writing songs when I was 10 years old after my grandmother passed away, because that emotional expression that was the only thing that could capture the ache that I was experiencing after losing her. When all of these factors in my life started to come together and make so much sense for me, and literally the physical experience in my body was showing me the truth of it. It was just so clear that I needed to open up my experience to others around me who might be going through similar things, because what I find so interesting about even the mechanism of an autoimmune disease, literally our bodies are in a sense attacking themselves. When you think about the concepts of self-love or self-forgiveness or self-compassion that go along with so many of these stories that we've taken in as children, to me, it really is magnified in the fact that the mind, body, spirit, emotional connection, all of those things, they dance together so beautifully. I can't speak for everyone with MS or other struggles of the physical, but I know for myself that I have been strengthened by the ability to learn about this inner world so well. And I've always known that despite what path my health goes down, my physical abilities, that as I strengthen my inner world, as I strengthen the relationship with myself and with my heart and with my emotions, those are skills that will serve me at any point on this journey. They will strengthen me despite the challenges that I may experience or may not. So there's the fact that I'm experiencing that they're actually helping with the physical symptoms. I haven't felt so good in many, many years as I do right now. And I do truly...
Bravo.
Yeah. I eat healthy, and I exercise, I strengthen my body, has kept me strong in a very special, unique way. So I want nothing more than to share that with people who might need it the most.
Oh my goodness. Now, we're just about out of time. We just have a few minutes left, but you said the constant cleaning out of your emotions, which is a fabulous way to say it. I love that. If you could share a few tips that you've learned through your experience and someone was brand new to this, what would be the first thing? Because I can hear some people going, huh?
Absolutely. Well, for one thing, if you can remember the last time you were emotionally triggered, like say, for example, you watched a movie and you were crying, you didn't even understand why you were crying, but you were moved to tears. Or maybe you were experiencing a situation in your life with your loved ones that you became more upset than is characteristic of you in some way. Those are all examples of your emotional system being activated and a feeling being really present and almost ripe for the picking. If you were to sit down and really dissect what it is you're feeling, those moments of activation, I call them, Doug calls them, that's a term we've been using, it's a really good time to sit in reflection and to breathe into your body, see where that feeling is active. Sometimes, just like butterflies in the stomach when we're nervous, our feelings tend to dance in our torso. So the more we can sit in reflection with our body in moments where we are activated, that's a really beautiful time, a critical time to start to dissect the emotional system. That means your emotional brain is open, essentially.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. And go ahead and say your website.
Yeah, my website is www.sheenagrobb.com. And if you sign up for my mailing list and send me a little note that you heard me on the Autoimmune Hour, I'll send you a free download of my latest album, The Breakless Heart, which is really good music to help tap into our emotions a bit more.
And also tell them the wonderful story, if you would, about, I'm going to mess up the name, I'm sorry, Get Out Alive.
Get Out Alive. Yeah.
And that wonderful story.
Yeah. So a number of years ago, part of the reason why I've started to talk about my health a little bit more, I spent 14 years not wanting to share with the music community that I had MS. I was afraid that would hinder my career and that others wouldn't trust to want to work with me as a musician. So I was kind of trapped in a prison of silence for a while around it. And then I got a call from a woman, her name is Lindsay Nelko, and she was a choreographer for So You Think You Can Dance, a very famous TV show where dancers, put together beautiful works of art to different music. And she said, Sheena, I would love to make a music video for one of your songs. And I was blown away. I said, of course, like, whatever you'd like. And I asked her if she wanted something off my latest album, thinking that that's what she was alluding to. And she said, no, it's a song I heard back in 2010 when I was going through a really hard time. And I typed the word alive into iTunes, and your song came up. It's called Get Out Alive. And Sharon, I almost dropped the phone when I heard it. It was like, if the universe was trying to tell me to speak up about my health journey, it was this moment, because out of the hundreds of songs I'd written since I was 10, that was the one song that I wrote during the time when I was paralyzed and I didn't know if I'd ever play music again. And it was my soul's cry to get out of this physical prison and emotional prison I'd found myself in, and just to break free and become alive. And so when she asked me to describe that song and what it was about to her dancers, I knew that this is now the moment that I needed to come clean about what I'd gone through, and because I think others out there might truly benefit from hearing it. And I knew that then more than ever. So on I go. I have 3 albums that if people are interested, they're on iTunes or off my website. I sign CDs if they're ordered through my website, and I tend to have a bit more of a relationship with people who contact me directly. So that's always lovely. It's my life's work. These songs have been like children to me, so I'm always so grateful to get to share them.
You guys, you have to go listen to them. And I'm going to spell out her name. So it's Sheena, Sheena, Grobb, Grobb.com. Thank you so much, Sheena, for sharing with us your story. And thank you so much for being my guest on the Autoimmune Hour. Everyone, go have a great weekend, whatever your adventures. Join me here next Friday for another Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. And as always, enjoy.
The information provided on lifeinterruptedradio.com is for educational purposes only. What you hear, read, and see on Life Interrupted Radio is based on experience only. The information presented here should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on Life Interrupted Radio. You've been listening to Life Interrupted Radio. To learn more, listen to other shows, and gain free resources that can help empower your life, be sure to stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com.
Cool new thing that we're doing over at lifeinterruptedradio.com. It's called the Transcribe Tribe. But go over, sign up for the Autoimmune Hours Transcribe Tribe, and you'll be able to get transcriptions. So join us over at lifeinterruptedradio.com, Transcribe Tribe. Hi, this is Sharon. If you haven't had a chance to check out Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, go over and check it out at pinkychenille.com. That's Pinky, Pinky, Chenille, CHENILLE.com.